Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Oh, yeah, Carl Anthony Towns trade was great.
You know, I don't want to talk about what happened in New York last night, okay? Let's just not. Let's not do that.
I think so far it's gone better than I expected.
What's better, the New York sports teams yesterday or the Dwayne Wade statue in Miami?
They're really one and the same.
Sounds about right.
I will give you credit, though. You're a big Yankee fan.
Yeah.
Right. You know what's really great? I feel like I'm sitting here with somebody who has one fewer career World Series hit than Aaron Judge.
Yeah. I knew what was coming on here. I was gonna get hit with some stuff, rocked with things. I knew it was coming. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I am able to take it, Steve. I'm a champ.
So let's get to the game itself here. Reese has been reinstated by the NCAA, who was hit with a targeting call in the second half against Nebraska. It is the right move to make. I'm glad he got reinstated. I've advocated for years that now this is the NCAA did, but that the conference should have the right to review and see if a person should be eliminated from the next game. I have advocated that for years. I said we have all these tools of replay. We should be able to use the tools of replay to then say, you know what, we took a long look at this. He probably shouldn't have been penalized, and he should not have to miss the first half of the next game.
It's like the NFL retroactively can give fines because they go back and look at everything afterwards. You should be able to do the same thing in reverse, which is what they're doing in this case, which is they're saying probably wasn't the best call. He doesn't have to sit out the first half.
In real time, I did not think it was a penalty. When I looked at the replay, I did not think it was a penalty. That's why when I sat there and went, I was sitting in the hotel room like, what are they doing here? Right? And believe me, I'm not sitting there going, oh, good, he's not going to he's going to miss the. I don't think that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think the way couple of you think.
We want best on best.
Right?
That's what everyone wants to see.
If he didn't do anything wrong. He just made a football play.
Yeah.
He made a football play. That's all he did. So, you know, he's he'll be able to play the game, and that's fine. I mean, he doesn't start. Yeah. I mean, but he plays. He's a contributor. He plays a lot. He's on special teams, things like that. So he's a good player. But that was the correct move to make sure he was reinstated for the game.
Yes.
Jack Tuttle has made his decision at Michigan. He's going to retire. Look, he's gone through 6 years of this.
Yeah.
Or actually,
he's a 7 year senior.
7 years of this. And you do get to a point where enough is enough. And that's about where he is. He began his career at Utah. He played for Tom Allen at Indiana. And then he transferred to Michigan. Yeah. And the Michigan quarterback situation, I mean, believe me, everybody knew he was going to eventually have to. I think they thought he was going to be the starter when the season began. I think they really went in with that idea. But Davis Warren was initially the starter. Then it's Alex Orji. Then it goes to Tuttle. Then it goes back to Davis Warren, and nobody knows.
Yeah. But Tuttle announced it's in part due to he had a UCL injury in his throwing arm, plus also his 5th career concussion. And he said it's just he needs to take more priority over his health, which is what he should be doing. I know there's been a lot of discussion over health, especially with concussions. There's multiple players who have now started retiring after multiple have been suffered, which is more than fair. I believe McCall just also retired this past week from NC State. Grayson McCall. And there's also been all this talk of Tua Tagovailoa following his concussion a few weeks ago. And so it is becoming more front and center. I am glad he is taking the steps to prioritize his health, which that makes me happy.
No, you have to be smart about that. So, to the credit, smart. And look, you've got a long life in front of you. You're not going to be playing at the next level, and it's the right move to make. Same thing for McCall. Same story. So you have to do that. As James said yesterday, you can wait a while. On certain players to make decisions. You have a quarterback, for example, that has made 20 career starts. Okay? I think he knows the offense. And I think he knows the rhythm with which to play the offense. Mm-hmm. You can wait on that decision as long as you need to because of that. Right? Dennis Sutton's the same way. You can wait as long as you need to on that because he has played so much football here. He knows exactly what they're doing, what they're trying to do, what the calls are, what they're trying to put in and so forth. As he pointed out yesterday, Donko's a little different situation because he's a first-year starter at that spot. So, so each one has a different timeline, and then we'll just see how it plays out this week. They did not practice yesterday.
Nope.
So, they did practice and do their walkthroughs and corrections and look ahead on Sunday night. Didn't practice yesterday. A lot of film, a lot of rehab, things like that yesterday. And then today we'll go back to the practice field. And we'll see how it plays out during the course of the week. It's a great matchup. We all know what Ohio State's done in recent years. They're a talented team. They've sunk a lot of money into doing it, which is, by the way, legal. That's not a knock on them at all. They've sunk a lot of money into it. I mean, the financial commitment has been talked about a lot during the offseason. And now we're going to see in this game how it plays out. We're getting to that time of the year. I believe Alabama's going to play LSU here down the road, I believe.
We will give me one moment, and I will find that answer for you.
Right. And a game like that becomes important because they both have 2 losses at this point. And in the regular season, once you fall into the 3-loss pool, you are done in terms of getting to playoff.
November 9th will be
next
Alabama
Saturday.
LSU, and it'll also be Georgia Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is going to be teetering on the border because they already have 2 losses.
Right, but
so they're gone if they lose.
Right, but Georgia only has the 1 loss.
And I'm saying if Ole Miss loses, they're done. If they beat Georgia, Georgia goes to the border now, and that gets scary for them.
Right.
And it puts you into the danger zone.
Right, it does. So that's where we're getting to at this stage of the season. I mean, you absolutely do not want to be in the 3-loss pool. Either Alabama or LSU will do that. So that essentially is a playoff elimination game next Saturday.
It's all must-win football at this point.
Right? And that's where it is. A lot of people have asked about Indiana. Indiana's interesting.
For a lot of reasons.
First of all, let's give tremendous credit to the job that they've done to get to this point. They are 8-0.
Yeah.
And that's only the second time in school history they've been 8-0. The last time they were 8-0, Johnny Pont was the head coach in 1967. They made the Rose Bowl that year.
You were what, 35? Sorry. I had to get my dig in.
I was 9 years old.
Okay.
I was 9. I remember Indiana playing in the Rose Bowl. And they're sitting there undefeated right now. And Cignetti's done a terrific job with them. They brought in a lot of transfers, including a dozen from his old James Madison team. And they still have to play Ohio State and Michigan. They have played a decent schedule.
They haven't played a murderer's row.
Right? I mean, Washington's a very good team, in my opinion, especially defense.
Yeah.
Washington's a better defensive team people realize, by the way.
They're a good team.
All right. Washington is a good team. They beat them soundly. Nebraska, they took apart.
Yeah.
I have no idea how good Nebraska is. I can't tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched them play against Illinois. They kind of lost the game to Illinois. I saw them play Ohio State. They kind of lost the game to Ohio State, and they just got overwhelmed by Indiana. India, I think, is this their bye week? I think this is their bye week, isn't it?
Their bye week is coming up on the 16th. So Indiana's got Michigan State in East Lansing this week. Then they're at home to Michigan, and then the bye week, and then on the road to Columbus.
Yeah, that's going to be, that'll tell you everything about them.
Mm-hmm.
It is, it's interesting. Would they be a playoff team?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're undefeated right now. They certainly would have to be absolutely considered for it, right?
So I want to ask you, I don't know if I've asked you yet, if, let's say, Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana all go undefeated.
Yeah, I don't know what, I haven't even looked.
You haven't even looked? Okay.
I don't bother with things.
Mm-hmm. Until we get to the final week.
In all due respect, I don't bother with things that at the moment are irrelevant.
Okay.
That's the only reason why. You know what I mean? In other words, like I've got the game this week. It's not like I'm overwhelmed with that, whatever. But like I don't want to feel like thinking ahead of something.
Yeah, that's fair.
When it comes time to look it up, I'll look it up if need be.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. In other words, I was always told, don't worry about things you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's so I don't worry about it. And I've taken that to heart. I don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I can't control that. When okay, the bridge is over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of steps before I get to the bridge.
Yeah.
Then I will absolutely look it up when I know I need to.
Speaking of Indiana, by the way, their game against Michigan on the 9th has been announced as having no date and time and network at the moment. It's going to happen on Saturday the 9th. We don't have a time for that game, the Purdue-Ohio State game, Minnesota-Rutgers, but we do have possible times for the Penn State game. As Penn State-Washington, the whiteout game here in Happy Valley will be either 3:30 p.m. or 8 p.m. on a network to be determined. All TBD times and network designations will be determined after games of 11/2. So after this weekend's Penn State-Ohio State game and after all the other games wrap up, then we'll find out the next week's set of games. I want to get your reaction to that. I see you smiling over there. So I would be intrigued to hear how you feel, Steve Jones.
Well, I've said it 1,000 times, so I'm not gonna really say anything I haven't said before.
Mm-hmm. Which is? I haven't heard it yet. This is my first time hearing this point made.
Oh, I've said this 1,000 times. I mean, I don't understand why it's so difficult to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Every league on the planet puts their schedules out.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they build in a flex game here or two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Major League Baseball sometimes will flex. Hey, I think we ought to put this game on Sunday Night Baseball and move this one to the afternoon.
The NFL reserves the right to flex one game from Sunday night to Sunday afternoon.
The NFL, I think the last 4 weeks they're allowed to flex.
Yeah.
All right. But everybody else puts on a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Penn State basketball has a schedule.
Every single game for Penn State basketball, the Lady Lions, wrestling is completely out right now. Every single time, everything is out right now.
Right. And then there's college football. And I don't get it. I don't understand why everyone acts like they're in the fetal position all the time when it comes to making decisions as to what time and what network the game's on.
Mm-hmm.
Pick it, move on.
I see someone's comment here on the post that Big Ten put out with this thing saying, what's the point in releasing this if only 2 of the 6 games happening are confirmed? I agree with that. Why are you putting out this big press release saying, here's coming up on the 9th, here's our big schedule, here's 2 of the 6 games? What's the point?
See, that's one of the issues that I have. Right? When you start taking your in-stadium fan bases, and this is the Big Ten, this is not the schools, for granted, they'll show up, but we'll just tell them what time. No, people have lives.
Let's say
they want to make plans.
I'm in Philadelphia. I'm traveling in for the Penn State Washington, the whiteout game. I have to book hotel rooms. It's whiteout weekend, of course. It's going to be packed. Guarantee the hotels are going to be sold out everywhere. So you book your room for Friday night into Saturday thinking it's going to be a 3:30 game and you can spend the morning here in Happy Valley, go to the game, Drive back to Philadelphia afterwards. Let's say the game wraps up. You get out of the stadium by 7. You get home by 10, 11 o'clock, let's say. Traffic a little bit here and there, whatever. You get home in a reasonable time. Now, all of a sudden, this game wraps up at 11:30. I have to plan for a second night in Happy Valley because it is a 3-hour ride back, and I'm not driving when it's midnight.
Right. I know.
So all of a sudden, I have to stay somewhere else, but there's not going to be rooms available. This is a major difference in times. It's one thing to say even a noon 3:30, but a 3:30 or 8 is just, it is ridiculous. It's asinine is what it is.
It's
because it is putting all of, as you just said, it's thinking they'll show up.
It's not,
will they?
It's not fair. It's not fair to the people who are the ones that create the atmosphere. Because we all saw that when COVID hit, people weren't allowed in stadiums. And so everybody's at home. They'll watch all the games, and the ratings went down. And part of the reason the ratings went down is the excitement wasn't there, because the excitement is generated by the fans in the stadium, their reactions one way or the other.
Yeah.
And when you get, I talk about, I'll do this again. I've done it before, but I'll do it again because I sincerely mean it. This is
go for it.
All right. The fan that shows up at the game or the event, quarterback club, they show up at the quarterback clubs. They show up at the events that are put on during the course of the year. They donate the money. They're invested in what's going on. They buy the tickets. They buy their parking. They accumulate the points to allow them to do all this. But then 7 and sometimes 8 times a year, depending, they pack up the car on a Friday. Sometimes it's Saturday morning. They have to buy the gas, which a few years ago was $1.89. Now it's about $3.49. So they put 10 gallons in. They're paying $16 more to do that. They went to the grocery store to get supplies for the tailgate. So what are groceries up? 23%, somebody said, something like that. So instead of paying $300, you're paying $369. Okay? Right? And you pack up all your gear and you drive. And you fight the traffic, especially at the end. Right? You finally get to your parking space, you set up the tailgate, and you have a great time. And you're probably one of the people, it's one of the first people that go up to greet the team at the bus. Right? Man, all right, we'll go back and tailgate for a little longer. All right, well, let's get through the security now. And let's get into the stadium. All right, fought the lines, did the whole thing. We're great. Okay? And then when it's over and you've cheered your brains out, you've tried to make all the impact you possibly can, you go back to your car, tailgate a little longer because, hey, look, it's great. There's people around you see all the time. It's like old home week. Right? Yeah. And you all have the same passion. You're sitting there, you're complaining about this play call, complaining about that referee call, right? Thrilled about this play, mad about that play, whatever. And then you pack it all up again, and guess what? You travel home, right? Which means, or you stay overnight. Hey, let's go to a restaurant, right? Let's go to the hotel. We got 2 nights here. Okay, great. Do that. Hey, let's go around campus. Maybe we'll go to the creamery on Sunday or something like that. And then you go home. Well, when you go, and then you do it again the next week. Right? And you also are paying your cable bill. Meanwhile, the person paying their cable bill and watching from the confines of their home, that's what they do. Now, you want your TV rating. That's why they're doing all this.
Yeah.
The TV ratings. But the fan that makes the extra steps in life to be a physical part of what's going on, you can't take them for granted. And the networks take them for granted. And the conference takes them for granted. Until they put out the press release about, the Big Ten's #1 and fan attendance. Yeah, but what did you do to get people to go to the games? other than make them wait around until Sunday to figure out what time the game is going to kick off. Meanwhile, the NFL fan, despite how incredibly corporate the NFL is, corporate beyond words, we know what time and day the Steelers are playing next. And the game after that. And the game. Every Steeler fan can plan every game until you get to the playoffs. And for obvious reasons, at that point, it becomes like, it's catch as catch can. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Because
it's just how playoffs work.
That's the way the playoffs work, because you're not guaranteed being in.
Yeah, it's last minute.
Right. But in the regular season, preseason, it's all okay. You can plan.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll give you one. I mean, Greg Billy, a team doctor for Penn State, has Steelers season tickets. Right? He went to last night's game.
Yeah.
Okay. He'll check in today. He'll tell me Russell Wilson's the greatest thing since Terry Bradshaw. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll look at him, cross-eyed, like, what are you talking about? Right? But he's there. Right? I'm planning on taking my family to a Penguins game. Well, I already know the game I'm going to with Ottawa is a 4:00 in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah.
We can plan around in January.
Yeah.
We made plans.
I know what the Knicks game times are in March.
Right.
I know exactly when they're going to be, where they're going to be.
I mean, I'm going to Fenway Park for Patriots Day in April. It's an 11 a.m. start. I already know. Meanwhile, the kickoff for the football game, we won't know until Saturday night, Sunday morning. What? I mean, who came up with this stupid system? And it is stupid. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Okay? The running joke I've always had has always been this. On degree of difficulty, Manhattan Project, 10. Scheduling the time of a kickoff for a football game, less than 1.
There are 19 total games, the ranked teams happening on the whiteout weekend. How many of those games have game times as of right this second? 19 games.
Probably all but the Big Ten.
Nope. 7 of them have game times. BYU Utah is going to be 10:15 on ESPN. Bama LSU is going to be 7:30. Florida State Notre Dame is going to be 7:30. Maryland Oregon is going to be 7 o'clock. Army North Texas 3:30. Georgia Ole Miss 3:30. Florida Texas noon. The rest of them, no. Oklahoma Missouri, nope. Colorado Texas Tech, nada. Utah State Washington State, you wish. Virginia Pittsburgh, nope. Nevada Boise State, ha. Michigan Indiana, no dice. Iowa State Kansas, no sir. Clemson Virginia Tech, Mississippi State Tennessee, nothing. Miami Georgia Tech, nope. Purdue Ohio State, zilch. Washington Penn State, nada.
See, that's
12 of the 19 games in the top 25 have no game time.
See, that's wrong.
How? It's not just the Big Ten. It's also the SEC. It's also the ACC. It's the Big 12. Heck, it's the Mountain West.
Yeah.
Like, it is at a point where it's just not worth for these college fans to want to come to games.
Yeah.
Because, like, we've been sitting here and it's tough for these people to figure out their college game days. And by the way, that's just the fans. This is not including the workers, the people who have to go to the games, people who have to cover the games. Like if let's say your birthday was coming up on Saturday, you wanted to have a birthday dinner on that November 9th day. You can't plan on it because the game might not be until 8 p.m. You can't do anything for yourself. We have to find people to run the board and do different things during game. I don't know who I need when. I don't know when I need them where. I have no idea.
Look,
it's a crapshoot at this point.
I know they pay a lot of money. I mean, not a little. They pay a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, on average through whatever, everybody says the estimate is about $75 million per school. Now, to me, that gives you the rights to carry the game. Okay? It doesn't give you the right to jerk people around. Okay? Okay? It gives you the right to carry the game.
Yeah.
Okay? It does not give you the right to mess with people. Oh, we don't mess with people. Look, you're not the most important people on the planet. You're an important part of the financial formula of what is going on here. And everybody's trying to be a great partner with you. Are you a great partner for them? And don't tell me it's only... Oh, no, we write the check. That's not the only part that makes you a great partner. Okay? You've got to be a great partner that cares about the institutions and about the fans that are at the game, because without them, your rating is going to go down.
And you know what shows they don't care about the game and they don't care about the fans and all this stuff? I know it's been talked about heavily, especially since College Gameday announced they're coming here, but things like Big Noon, where it is all of a sudden the Penn State-Ohio State game, one that if you had said this 5 years ago, you'd think that's a whiteout game. That's going to be a whiteout game in November. That is going to be 7:30, 8 o'clock. That is going to be prime time viewing, the atmosphere, all of it. I remember watching those games on TV thinking that is the greatest atmosphere in the world. But now it's taken away from being a whiteout because the thought that they were like, we can't put the whiteout on this game because it's probably going to be a noon because of Fox taking the game and putting Big Noon on it. So all of a sudden it can't be a whiteout game. And all of a sudden we've got Washington. And now Washington might not even be a night game. Yeah, it gets dark at 6 o'clock. That's going to be the third, fourth quarter.
Well, no, it's going to be dark by 5 because remember the clocks are being turned back an hour.
Okay. So it'll be dark at halftime. The second half will be a whiteout, but it's got Washington on it.
Right. But you know what? The original full stadium whiteout was a 6 o'clock game in September with Notre Dame. And that started out with,
I know, but you get the point I'm making,
fine, though.
Which is just the fact that we now have to do this jumbling of who's going to be where, when are the games going to be. It's a crapshoot until the day of, or until the Monday prior to the week of, when we find out the game times. Or in this case, we won't know until the Monday of the week of the game.
Oh, we'll know Saturday night.
We'll know Saturday night, but the fact that we have to wait for 7 days out to know what's going on is ridiculous. It's crazy.
Look, I am all for them flexing games in November.
Yes.
Okay? I have no problem with flexing games in November because in a playoff system, let's take LSU Alabama. I know it's a November 9th game. Okay? I'd put that down. All November games would be TBD to me. Okay. Well, now you get to that point. You want that game in prime time. Because the loser of the game is going to go into the 3-loss pool. The winner is going to be alive. So essentially, it's an in-season play with playoff implications.
Sure.
That's why you want to flex that game to nighttime, right? That's a decision you don't need to make in September and October. Now, I realize this game is a November 2nd game coming up, so I mean, it does fall into the November category. But you should be able to, I already know now you can take Alabama and LSU and put it at 7:30 at night. I already know that. I'm sitting here on October 29th. I already know you can put that game in prime time. I mean, a lot of these decisions are common sense decisions, and they overthink everything. And in the process, the last thing they think about is they're turning people off. And they're saying to themselves, oh, no, look at the ratings. They're great. They're great. They're great. They have no idea how much people are grumbling. Right? Okay, I was on a show in Columbus today. Right? You came out pretty well.
Thank you.
Well, it's kind of a pity thing. I mean, none of your teams play well.
It's okay. I'll take it.
I thought Syracuse looked great the other night. Oh. No?
Continue.
I will. Right? And they said, that it's, they asked, it's not a whiteout. I said, no. I said, it's noon. I said, I don't know how you people in Columbus feel about it. I said, but I know the Penn State fans really are not enamored with Big Noon. Right?
Yeah. All over social media, everywhere, it is people saying boycott Big Noon. Don't go. That is absurd that we're at the point where they're going to boycott. Well,
they're talking about boycotting the show.
Yeah. But the fact that that's where we're at is that fans don't want to go in. A few weeks ago, and they were here for that UCLA game, fans were all over there. They were having a great time, having a blast. We're set up right next to it for our broadcast, and they're having a great time. But they're also annoyed because it's a noon game. But it's okay, it's UCLA. We can live with this.
Right.
But as soon as you take these shows and check them onto this and take the allure of a whiteout Penn State Ohio State game.
Well, here's the issue I have potentially with next week.
Yeah.
What if they put the game on Peacock? Whoa, hold on here a second.
The whiteout 8 p.m. on Peacock.
What are you doing? I know last week's game
was simulcast, I believe.
simulcast because I think FS1 had Michigan State,
which is perfectly fine with me.
No, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
The game with USC was simulcast with Paramount Plus. That's the way it should be, where you're using your streamer as a supplement to maximize the audience. A novel approach in media. What am I doing? Well, I've done this too long.
Speaking of Peacock, I know you have. This past weekend, Arsenal-Liverpool match.
It's like talking to a wall about this stuff sometimes.
I know.
Because, we care. You really don't.
Yeah, they don't care.
In no uncertain terms, all you care about is you. You don't care about everybody else. I'm talking about the networks. You only care about you. Well, we pay all the money. What? Here at Playfly, we're not kicking in some dough? The Playfly number's not cheap there, boys and girls.
It's a lot.
Like, Playfly, we're not kicking in some dough here? I'm not saying we should have a say over anything. I don't care.
Yeah.
I understand that. Right? But don't act like you're the only ones paying. Well, there are 110,000 people there, sport, at the network.
Yeah.
That all paid. They paid for season tickets. They paid their line club points, which meant they had to pay a certain amount to get there. They had to, for the parking, for the gas, for the food. They paid a lot of money to be there. You weren't the only ones that paid money.
And they act like they do. And then when everyone comes out and is annoyed and frustrated and rightfully pissed at them, but it's not our fault. We wanted to do the best. We wanted to put our big show on it.
No.
What I will say.
What, you're not telling me that in May you didn't think Penn State, Ohio State was going to be a big game? What?
And it's like, and you notice how like they can't move like a Florida State Notre Dame game. There was thoughts maybe they move Florida State Notre Dame. They're not going to, because Florida State, even though they're garbage and terrible football team this season, they're not moving that game. Still going to bring in numbers because of Notre Dame. And
is that game in South Bend?
It's in Notre Dame. It's in South Bend.
Okay, well, NBC that scheduled that was scheduled back in May.
Yeah,
so it's one thing I've always respected about the Notre Dame deal. Like their home schedule is locked in.
But that's what it, for the most part, should be. The NFL model is my favorite. I'm okay if you can flex some games here or there, but if college football is going to do that, like you said, the November games shouldn't have game times. I think they should have tentative game times that you can flex one school up to 2 total times. That should be like the number. Is you can only flex certain schools certain numbers of times, because you should give fans the ability to know, for Penn State, they're playing on the 2nd, 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th of November. I should have an idea that 3 of those games are not getting touched, and I can kind of ballpark who it's going to be.
I don't mind November being flexed because, again, you don't know. For example,
but I'm just saying don't fully flex the schedule.
Right. In other words, I'll give you one. If you're thinking way ahead of time, before the season began, is Indiana Ohio State considered a big noon kickoff game? Is Indiana Ohio State considered to be a primetime game? But if I have the ability in November to flex, now the records are telling me, hey, I've got to make a decision on that game.
Okay.
So that's why November I need to have some flexibility if I'm a network to do that. Up until we get to Halloween, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, agreed. But I'm just saying you shouldn't be able to flex there should be a cap on how much you can flex certain schools.
Right.
Like, you should not be able to move all 5 Penn State games from whatever game times you set them as to different game times later. There should be a set number, whether it's twice or 3 times, whatever the number is. That's kind of your restriction per school, or maybe there's a number per week they can flex. Like, there's got to be some restriction on it, just so it doesn't completely mean it's a toss-up still. Because that's where I think the problem comes in. We should have some semblance of when games are going on. We can make educated guesses, but the fact that Penn State Ohio State is not a 7:30 game, or the whiteout is not confirmed to be an 8 o'clock, is a travesty.
Well, again, Kevin Warren was a genius putting this together. Genius, even though he didn't have much to do with it. Sorry, Kevo. Right? It's not like everybody out there is dumb. All right? But I'll tell you exactly what I said when they were doing this TV contract, and this was pre-USC UCLA. It was going through that spring, and everybody thought around Memorial Day they would have it worked out.
Yeah.
Now, unbeknownst to people, USC and UCLA were making phone calls to Mark Silverman at Fox saying, hey, can we get in on this? All right, that's how it got pushed back to August. I said during the course of the spring, if I'm doing the TV negotiations, I demand there are no 6-day windows. I didn't say 12. I said, you should have it in there. I said, as a conference, you need to have control over something. No 6-day windows. Our fans should know later than 12 days before the game. And I said that repeatedly. I said, have some pride in your product. You do not need to bend over backwards for these people. It is not a gigantic concession.
Yeah.
It's not a gigantic concession.
Like finding 12 days out, I'm okay with that. I can at least live with it.
Right.
But the fact that we're now finding 6 days out what our schedule is going to be a week later, it is disrespectful to every single person that watches the game. I'm looking right now at the November 11th to 17th schedule. So in a couple weeks, weeks away. Again, same question as earlier. How many games do we know game times for that week? There are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There are, again, 19 games, ranked teams. How many games do we know, Steve?
Handful.
5. Handful. Texas, Arkansas is noon. Mercer, Alabama is 2. Virginia, Notre Dame is 3:30 because, again, a home game for Notre Dame. Boise State, San Jose State is 7. And New Mexico State, Texas A&M is 7:45. Those are the only games we know. None of the others. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We have no time what Georgia, Tennessee is going to be. A 2 versus 7. No clue. Oregon, Wisconsin. That should be a fun game. No idea when it's going to be at Camp Randall. No clue.
Right.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's absurd. We should have at least some idea. Just anything. Give us anything. But nope. And then they do this roulette wheel where they're spinning of who wants to get what game and who's going to get this and that and the other. And it goes around and around and around. And then finally comes out with, oh, well, here's where the games are going to be. And now Penn State fans are going to find out that the game is going to be on Peacock. And if they're not at the whiteout game, they can't watch it unless they have Peacock, which...
It's a possibility.
It's a real possibility.
Right.
It should be a night game, but the fact that now we're deciding between 8 and 3:30 is wild. If it was like 7 or 8 p.m. or 7:30 and 8, whatever.
It should be pointed out that the World Series is definitely over by then.
Yes.
So Fox has availability if they want to do certain things. In fact, the World Series may be over by tonight.
Yeah.
Although it's a bullpen game tonight, so I don't know how. Although the Astros did a bullpen game at the and threw a no-hitter.
Yeah.
That was like, okay. Remember how intimidating we're the most intimidating crowd in the world. Like, oh my God, thanks. You don't get it. You're loud. I love how loud you are. You're incredible. You are not intimidating professional athletes. Okay? You just aren't. They're like sitting there like going, okay, great.
It's just it's sad. It's annoying, all the game time changes and things, and it annoys me. But going away from college football a little bit, we talked about them a little, mention-wise. The Pittsburgh Steelers last night.
Yeah,
they won their game against the Giants.
I saw a little bit of it. Last night. I think it was all field goals in the first half. We're back to doing that again.
Yeah.
So I watched the World Series mostly last night.
More than fair. But the Steelers got the job done. They moved to, I believe, 6-2 on the season.
They're in first place.
They're in first place. We now go into Week 9. And Week 9's matchups are funky, to say the least. The Jets could very much so be 2-7 after this week. By the way, the Jets right now, who is the only team below them in the AFC, Steve? One team.
Below them in the AFC?
Yeah. Who's below them in the AFC? One team.
I don't know.
The Titans. You know who's above them in the AFC as of now in the rankings?
Everybody.
Patriots, Jaguars, Raiders, Browns, Dolphins. All of them. All of them are 2-5, 2-6, and all are above the Jets.
Right.
Only 2 teams are, as of this moment, worse than the Jets. The Titans and the Panthers. And they're technically tied with the Giants. Technically.
Yeah.
I have no words. No words. And now they get to face CJ Stroud and the Texans, who are playoff hopefuls. They're a good football team. And the Texans get the Jets in MetLife. That game's going to be rough for New York. And then all of a sudden you move to the this week's games, and woof, they are weird all over the place. So
they the Jets are a soap opera unto themselves. And it's not like you have guys. The Lakers are a soap opera because everybody talks. Jets, except for Rodgers, don't talk. I mean, you never hear
Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner.
Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Sauce Gardner. You don't really ever hear them talk. Breece Hall, you don't hear them talking. Rodgers, you do, but he's the quarterback because every quarterback talks.
Yeah.
Right. You've had the coach has been fired. I mean, you've got. They're a mess. And they are really, to their credit, a very poorly put together team.
Yes. Speaking of poorly put together teams, though, Steve, the New York Giants, who of course also played last night in the game,
They're brutal.
They're brutal, and it doesn't help when they have to bench their first round pick, Deonte Banks, who made a really good play.
But again,
he made a play on Pickens, and then all of a sudden, just.
But again, on draft day, they bypassed Joey Porter and they drafted Banks. Okay, you know how many Deonte Banks games I did in my career? 4. You want to know how many times he impressed me? None. When I heard he was a potential first-round pick, Jack and I called up Jack. I go, he says, gee, Steve, he said, he didn't even make our scouting report. Like, he never made it. We don't get it. I don't get it. I didn't understand why they picked him first.
He was pulled in the second quarter of this game for cornerback Greg Stroman Jr., who was elevated from the practice squad earlier in the day.
And Stroman made a good play downfield on Moore, I think it was.
And it is, oh boy. And I get young players do things, whatever. If you get pulled for someone, that is a whole different ball game. Like, it's one thing if Bryce Young gets pulled as the Panthers quarterback. This is a very different story. I saw people relating the two of them. They're not the same. That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
This is attitude. This is everything about it. And it's just not good. And it comes within a day of the Bears cornerback, Tyreek Stevenson, having his quote-unquote lapse on the Hail Mary.
I'm sorry. There's certain things. His lapse is inexcusable.
Oh, by far.
Okay? When you are out there between the lines, your job is to concentrate on the other 21 people out there, not the 60,000 in the stands. Okay? Right? It's inexcusable what he did. Okay? What Anthony Richardson did is inexcusable. I'm tired. You're tired? You're tired? If I'm the Colts, I'm sitting like, going, what are we doing here? I mean, if I'm the Colts, I'm looking around like, you've got to be kidding. My quarterback tapped out because he's tired?
I think it was Ryan Kelly, the setter, afterwards was like, yeah, that's inexcusable, and we're going to talk with him. And we already have, but we're going to talk with him more because that's just not, no, you don't do that. And like, people thought at the time, maybe he's injured because that's what it looked like. He landed on his left leg. He was injured. And he's like, no, it's just tired. Huh? More NFL news.
But it's that kind of stuff where you have questions, and it's not just he looks bad. He's making the league look bad. He's making current players as a whole look bad. Because you already have in professional sports, and the NBA people don't help him at all. Like Joel Embiid will not play back-to-back games this year. Okay, but you got the max contract, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Load management. You have players saying that the 65-game rule, which, by the way, is 17 games off, in order to be all league, it should be 58. Right? And now you got the quarterback. I was tired. You were tired. How tired do you think Fran Tarkenton was running for his life with the Vikings and the Giants? And I'm talking about the early Vikings. They were an expansion team. And the Giants. Every game. You don't think he was tired?
Heck,
okay. Roger Staubach. You don't think he was tired? Steve Young. You don't think he was tired? Terry Bradshaw. You don't think he was tired? Come on. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Okay. They brought Flacco in. I said, okay, you're tired, right? Okay. I can understand you're tired. We'll run a running play here. Flacco came in. What did they do?
Running play.
Yeah. Then they kicked. What's so complicated about that? It's like you either want to play or you don't. And I've talked about this before with the Aaron Donalds and the Nick Bosas. Like, okay, in the first 3 quarters, you want to rotate people out? That's fine. Because we're trying to keep them fresh for the fourth quarter. I'll watch in the fourth quarter. They're not out there. Well, they were rotated out. I thought you said you rotated them out earlier so they'd be fresh for the fourth quarter. Like, I see this all the time. I'll be watching games like, what? Aaron Donald's the greatest. Wait, do you think Alan Page took plays off? Which plays did Lawrence Taylor take off? Which ones?
And you know what's funny? The NBA, where we were discussing all this load management stuff, when it comes time at the end of the game, you know who's going to be in. You know exactly at the end of the game who's going to be in and who's going to be where at all times. You just know it. You know the Celtics ending lineup, when everyone's healthy, is going to be Holiday, and it's going to be White, Porzingis, Tatum, and Brown. You just know that's their ending 5 at all times.
Right.
You know LeBron's going to be in there in the entire fourth quarter because he's LeBron James. He's 40. Think he's tired?
Okay. Last season, Michael Jordan played. He played all 82 games. Jordan, the vast majority of his career, played all 82 games.
Yeah.
Okay. Bird and Magic were playing games. Every game. NFL, Jim Marshall played defensive end 1 year with the Browns, the rest of his career with the Vikings. Okay. He played 270 consecutive games. In a line position where you're getting belted left and right on every play.
Yeah.
Like, where's the commitment and the work ethic? Now, there's a lot of great players out there that have a great work ethic.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But you see stuff like this and you go, you're tired? Okay, you know who's tired, Anthony? Okay? The mom that had to work overtime to make ends meet, got home to relieve the babysitter, and then about 6.5 hours later, got up again to start the next day to get the kids breakfast and get them off to school, and then start another day. Okay? She's tired.
You know Demario Davis, Saints linebacker?
Yes. Good player.
He played 197 games in the NFL.
Yep, good player.
He missed his first game in week 4 of this season because he was injured. That was the first game he missed in his entire 13-year career. And you're tired. Absurd. Fun news to wrap up of the show with. ESPN, Disney Plus, they've all announced the Monday Night Football game between the Bengals and the Cowboys down in Jerry World is going to be broadcast as in the animated The Simpsons Fun Day football game. It's going to be available on Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and NFL Plus as a fun streaming thing going on as well. I know you're shaking your head. Regardless, it brings me joy.
I think it's fun for the kids.
It's fun for the kids.
I'm fine with that.
And it's going to be Mina Kimes, Dan Orlovsky, and then my king, Syracuse person, Syracuse student who I went to school with, Drew Carter, is going to be on the call. This is going to be the three of them calling the game down in Adams Stadium in Springfield. So, what? What?
I have no problem with that.
You have no problem with that?
No, I don't mind options because that's not the option I'm going to choose, right? But there will be people that choose that option,
and
I think that's great because you're going to have both options to
choose from. You can get some kids into the game.
And that's fine. That's why I don't mind the Nickelodeon thing with they got the splash,
with Noah,
all the splashing and all that stuff. That's fine.
At some point, we will slime you, Steve. We will get slime buckets and we'll hit you with slime. I know. You may not enjoy that.
Yeah.
I'll find a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. And where I am, there is a will. So just be ready for it. That's all I'm going to say. And as the next few days roll on, of course, we're going to talk more things, Penn State, Ohio State, and also what else goes on in the sports world, because we know, as anyone does in the sports world, it does not stay quiet long.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover